Welcome back to another episode of All Wizards Talk. I'm one of your co-hosts, Bryson Akins, joined alongside, as always, by Josh Valdez and Henry Brown. I'm back. I was on a little bachelor trip. You guys did not want me on the last podcast episode. I would not have been able to get any coherent thoughts out, but we are back, ready to go. Appreciate Josh Henry holding it down while I was gone. And in the meantime, while I was on that bachelor trip, all right, anytime I had a little bit of free time, I would get on social media and just check what's going on with the Wizards. All right, what's going on? And there's been a trend of like the last 3 weeks where everyone has just been destroying, just pooping on the Wizards, basically. Just talking as much crap as they can. And it doesn't really make sense. All of a sudden, they get the first overall pick. They get Anthony Davis, who's one of the best power forwards that ever played this game. All right. And then Trae Young, who is, one of the best playmaking guards, at least passing wise in the NBA right now. All right. And all of a sudden, people want to talk about the Wizards that haven't been keeping up with the Wizards for the past 5 years because they didn't care. And it shows. It shows with their thoughts. And so today, we're just going to air out our thoughts on all of the horrible takes we have seen this offseason so far, starting with a lovely group over at Bleacher Report. I know a lot of people have thoughts on Bleacher Report. All right. I know I'm sounding like Donald Trump a little bit saying this. Frankly, Bleacher Report,
You sound more like Larry David talking about, some problems.
Okay. All right. I see that. But Bleacher Report a while back, they did their ranking of the starting fives for every NBA team. And the Wizards, a lot of people, going into the offseason after they got the first overall pick, a lot of people were like, oh, this is a good starting five. It's one of the better starting fives in the Eastern Conference, at least. What do you guys know where Bleacher Report had the Washington Wizards ranked among starting fives?
It was in the 20s, right?
It was in the 20s. They had him
Bottom
at
third.
They had him at 22nd. It's the 22nd best starting five in the NBA. A starting five of Trae Young, Keyshawn George, AJ DeBonsa, Anthony Davis, and Alex Sarr. Look at this. It's like, how can this be one of the worst starting fives in the NBA when you have a guy, when he's healthy, is a top 25 player in Anthony Davis? All right, I know keyword health, all right, but you can't use the health excuse when you're talking starting fives when he's playing. All right,
True.
That is when he is on the court, okay? Trae Young, who has become, very, hated, I would say, in the past 3 years. A lot of people don't like Trae Young or his style of play, but when he has a good group of centers around him, and he does now, shows that he's a top 50 player in the NBA. AJ DeBonsa, who can come in and already be a top 100 player in the NBA as well. Alex Sarr, who's one of the best defensive big men in the league, and Keyshawn George, who is one of the best kind of role players that you could have as well. How this is a bottom third starting five in the league, I don't get. I don't.
Well, give us some of the teams that are just above them.
So right above them at 21 is the New Orleans Pelicans, which that alone should not have you talk about basketball ever again.
Who's in that? They don't have Poole in the starting lineup, do they?
No, they have DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion, and Derek Queen. I don't see how that's a better starting five than the Wizards.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's not better than the Wiz.
Yeah.
No, it's not better than the Wiz. Then they have the Phoenix Suns at 20, which you can make the argument because of, their big three of Booker, Green, and Brooks. You could make the argument. You could, but I personally don't see it because Jalen Green, while he's a great offensive player, he does tend to struggle on defense. I like Jalen Green on offense, at least.
I know, but great offensive player.
I think he
is.
I
think great is stretching it. I think he's
okay. Never mind then. Help my case a little bit then. Then Miles Bridges at the 4 and Mark Williams as their starting center. I just don't see how that is a better starting five than the Wizards either. And then another big one that I hate, and a lot of it is just because of legacy, is the Warriors at 19th. Like, sure, you have Steph Curry, all right? But then your starting lineup is roundup of, pods. Like, we really saying pods elevates this team that much to be better than the Wizards when you also have Yaxel, who will start at the 3, Draymond Green, who starts at the 4, and Kristaps at the 5. I'm still taking the Wizards over that.
Yeah, I don't like the Warriors.
I guess they can't say Jimmy.
And like Orlando at 18, which like I can kind of get, like you can make the argument, and this is where like the rest of the teams from here on out, I can kind of see where it's like, yeah, you can make the argument of them, being ahead of the Wizards or them at the same level. Trailblazers at 17, once again, I can kind of seeing that with adding John Morant to that lineup when you already have Damian Lillard coming back from injury when they had him in the starting five. Donovan Clingan, he is a good rising young center as well. Kamara at the 3, not a bad role player to have there either to round it out. Lakers at 16, which I'm surprised they had him, that low because a lot of people tend to boost up the Lakers mainly because of
I know,
Luka.
but come on, that offseason of theirs was so weird.
It was so weird. It was a good offseason. It was just weird.
Yeah.
They brought in a lot of good role players. And then this is one that also had me a little distraught. They had Utah at 15 when you look on paper, the Jazz and the Wizards are very similar teams. With how they're built.
They put them 7 spots ahead. That's wild.
That's what's wild to me is they are pretty much on the same time frame. They have the same kind of roster makeup and build, same level of players in all their position where it's it doesn't make sense to have the Jazz at 15, but yet the Wizards at 22 when they are eerily similar.
Yeah, the Jazz have Laurie and Jaren Jackson as their proven star vets.
Well, they didn't even have Jaren Jackson starting.
What?
They had Yusuf Nurkic starting at the 5.
All right, I've heard enough. So moving past that,
what?
I think if you're talking about, you mentioned it, 80 and Trey, just they're not in good reputational spots. It's how they got to DC. It's how they arrived here for so cheap on the dollar.
High low guys.
Yeah. So I think this is a matter of most of those teams you named, except for the Jazz, which is an interesting case, have made the playoffs recently, or maybe won a round like the Warriors did 2 years ago. And I think it's a matter of no one's seen the Wizards yet. You look at it, the starting lineup, there are some fits that still haven't been determined yet. You don't know how Trae Young can play with the young guys. You don't know how AJ is going to adjust to being this sort of role player-ish rising star type guy where he's sort of stuck between roles. You don't know how Sarr and Keyshawn are going to do with the brighter lights. I think they look at this lineup and think of the questions that haven't been answered as opposed to what they could do together.
Yeah. Well,
That's a great way to put it.
I want to read off what their reasoning was for Washington at 22. All right. And
Please.
kind of showcase just why this is just so wrong for where they put them. All right. The Washington Wizards starting 5 finally looks like a real NBA team for the first time in years, which, yeah, I agree. It finally looks like a real team. They're ready to compete a little bit. All right. No more young guys or players that are trying to still fight for their way in the NBA now. Okay. Davis and Young have 14 all-star trips between them, and Devonta was the number 1 overall pick this summer. That's a nice starting point before filling in 2 more members of the Wizards' young core. Yeah, nice starting point. Can't disagree. This is when it gets a little weird. Sarr should be safe at center. It shouldn't be a should. Who are they going to start over Sarr? Who are they going to start
do you
over
think that's
Sarr?
from a lineup perspective or from an actual full-time, or are they talking about him as a full-time center against, other NBA teams?
Well, I think they, and then they say ensuring Davis can slide over to the 4 after that. So I'm assuming as a full-time 5 is what they're saying. But it's not should be safe. It is he is.
Yeah,
safe.
no. His position as a starter is unassailable. It's a matter of how he'll do as a skinnier guy on the boards. If you're talking about that, maybe. But I feel like they're talking about in terms of
it's not clear enough either way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But this final sentence is what gets me, where it's they have no clue about what's actually been going on behind the scenes with the Wizards. All right. We could see a battle between George, Trey Johnson, and Bub Carrington for the starting shooting guard spot next to Trae Young.
So this is, to me, the biggest dog whistle red flag someone can have, that they haven't really been quite locked in. And this isn't meant to disparage Bub's standing within the organization or the rotation.
No, and we should clarify, I love Bub. He is one of my personal favorites on the Wizards. I think he's a great player. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I think he's going to be a key offensive role player off the bench for the Wizards for the next few seasons.
Could be, but he is just not in the same running. It was Keyshawn and Trey for a bit, and now it's Keyshawn is just better at most things. He's a tick smaller as a pull-up three-point shooter, but he's bigger. He can play defense. He's a really good playmaker. It's Bub is just farther from the rotation than I think a lot of people assume, given that he plays every game. He's a recognizable guy.
It's also the fact that they also didn't include Bilal in that kind of
That's
battle.
the thing. If you're going to include any third guy, it's Bilal.
Yeah, if you include any third guy, it's Bilal or Justin. It's one of those two guys that you're going to include for that battle. All right. And like we said, this is no shade to Bub. Like I said, I personally love him. All right, I'm trying to buy out as much card stock as I can with Bub right now. That is how much I believe in the guy. Okay, but it's just not close. Like he's not even considered for that starting 5 role right now. He just isn't.
No,
He just
no. A Trae Young and Bub Carrington 1-2. Man, that would be insane. Like they'll probably turn to that at some point, but I just can't imagine that'll give some of the defense that they're looking for with that you'd have in Keyshawn or AJ.
it's
Yeah,
just
my thing is it's easy to look at the roster and like, oh, like yeah, this looks like this guy could start, but it's like no, if you really don't know what's going on, you're just gonna look at the names on the roster and be like, oh, these guys could battle it out. It's like
Bub
no,
Carrington was a lottery pick. He should be in that running right
Right.
now.
And he's
It's
again
very
never missed a
surface
game,
level.
so you assume he's going to be a feature.
It's just
Right.
it's so weird like where they're like ranking some of these teams where it's like I'm trying not to like put too much thought into it because they also have Dallas at 23rd, which I don't agree with that either. I think
What's the Dallas 5, if you mind telling us?
they have Kyrie, Max Christie, Cooper Flag, PJ Washington, Derek Lively to second, but it's really Daniel Gafford that should start at the 5.
Yeah. Well, because you said health isn't a factor in your starting 5s.
Even with health, I'd rather have Gafford over Lively. That's just me.
Maybe.
That's just me. But like even that starting 5, just adding Kyrie back alone, Dallas already had one of the worst rosters in the NBA last season. I think Bleacher Report had him at like 25. Adding Kyrie only moves him up to 23.
Again, Kyrie is getting the Wizards tax right now, where no one really knows what they're going to get with him.
It's just it
Yeah.
is just so like it's the fact that there are teams like the Pelicans and Warriors that they put ahead of the
Yeah.
Wizards, where it's like, what, like outside of like 1 or 2 players, what do those teams have? All right.
Yeah, the Warriors one makes a bit more sense if you just still believe in like the Curry Draymond Warriors DNA still deep down in there. But like, I mean, the Pelicans, I mean, this is like what an interesting time to buy in on them. I mean, last year they were one of the worst teams and they weren't tanking at all, like the whole season.
And they didn't do
And they
anything.
haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They
I
they
got nothing
made
on
no offseason moves, yet somehow the same roster as last season is better than a completely revamped Wizard starting 5.
Yeah, we gotta be careful here that we just don't sound like the biggest Wizards homers ever. But I just think that they're getting taxed with a different kind of expectation.
Here-
The
here's
Wiz
the thing.
tags.
It's that, it's not that we're saying that they should be top 10 ranked or whatever. It's just
No.
that they need
Yeah.
to be in the playing range,
Yeah.
whereas
Like, we're not saying they're a Miami Heat team. All right, like level of that starting 5. We're not saying they're a Lakers level of starting 5. All right, we're saying they're around that 18, 19 range. All right, no reason that they should be considered one of the bottom third teams in the league regarding starting 5. I'm sure they think the same thing with the rotation as well because they probably don't realize how good Will Riley was as a rookie. They probably don't realize that Justin Champagnie is, one of the best role players in the NBA when you talk about impact to winning on the court. It's just a bunch of stuff like that. It's just kind of showing, like, and this is my whole point with this is this list just shows how little the national media has paid attention to the Washington Wizards, and like I can't blame them. Like
Right.
the Wizards haven't been putting on much to watch for the past 3 years. Like you can't blame them, but it's also you can't all of a sudden start talking on these teams
right.
when you haven't been watching, especially at the Jazz, who have been in a very similar situation to the Wizards. No one paid attention to them and have them 7 spots ahead. Yet it is an eerily similar starting 5. If they played in a 7-game series, it's going to 7 games.
Yeah, the media wants to have it both ways where they didn't watch, but they want to act like they know, and it's like, look, yeah, it's one thing to not know as much about a losing team and not the biggest market, but it's like, okay, when you say that Bub Carrington is in contention to start, over other guys, it's like, all right, that is just, unfortunately, it's just showing that you don't know. And it's like, if you're going to put out this analysis that people are reading, and then people believe it, that's the problem. That's what we were saying off camera. So it's like you're putting out this analysis that is misleading people. Like Bub
Yeah,
Carrington
it's
is
not
not
great.
starting unless other guys get hurt. So
It's like
I have
it's
a theory
frustrating.
for the Jazz thing. I think, and it's funny because they got Darren Peterson and bully for them, but
And they didn't even have their
I'm
best
not-
starting 5 out there. They didn't even, they had Yusuf Nurkic over Jaren Jackson Jr.
that makes that's baloney. I think I'm not even sure Darren Peterson like solved some of their lineup problems that they had last year. Like he's not like he's not really going to pass a ton, and there aren't really many guys on that team who are going to pass at all. And I think it's a bit of Danny Ainge bias if I had to guess, because everyone assumes he has a plan and he's he tricked everyone by getting DP second and Ace 5 last year. But I don't know. I think the only case for them being better than the Wizards, distinctly at least, is the Western Conference mid-level is just mushier than the East.
Darren can pass though. He passed in high school pretty well.
It's a matter of like how to me, it's about how you go to the NBA level still
Right.
passing. Listen, I like this passing. I thought he was my favorite prospect, but
that's high school.
that's the thing. You have to. I'm trying to
Yeah.
balance like what we saw at that level with what he can do 2 levels up.
It's going to be an adjustment, of course. I mean,
Yeah. That's the
but
thing. You're pinning this necessary need on a rookie who's adjusting to the league, and that's when
Yep.
I don't know, 15 times. So who else is in the Jazz starting 5? It's gonna be I assume it's
George,
Keontae George.
Keontae George, Darren Peterson, Lauri Markkinen. Oh no, they had Jaren Jackson Jr. in there. I completely missed that. Yusuf
That makes
Nurkic at
sense.
the 5.
I
But
was
like,
like, ain't no way.
but like, I feel like that's still wrong. I feel like there's just guys just missing.
Wait, so it's Keontae, Darren, Laurie, JJJ. Who's the fifth?
Yusuf Nurkic,
Nurkic.
where it's like
Yusuf Nurkic.
I would move Laurie to the 4, Jaren Jackson to the 5, and have Ace Bailey start.
The thing is, Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't rebound, and that's what makes the 5 thing a bit more complicated.
Hmm.
Yeah,
He sort of
guess,
needs
but
to be
like,
next to the Memphis showed he sort of needs to be next to a 5.
I kind of compare Ace on their bench to like the Wizards not starting Trey.
It's
Johnson.
those two have such
Yeah.
similarities between their
Yeah,
careers so far.
I can see that. Just to me, it just that starting 5 should not be basically where they're putting them as a bona fide playoff team is what they have them basically at with their ranking. Should not
Yeah.
be that much higher than the Wizards, who by their
Right.
ranking are the 10th seed in the East, basically.
I think a lot of people still think it's 2022, and they're not 100% locked in on the draft picks
I think
they've
a lot
made
of
and the
people-
direction they've taken.
I think a lot of people still have that thought of Alex Sarr's rookie year in their mind instead of actually what he showed last year.
Because
when I see people,
it's that one summer league game.
yeah, when I see people, when I see people
Oh, for
talk about Alex
15. Oh my
Sarr,
God.
yeah, they keep talking about him as he's this inefficient big man. Where it's like you look at his rookie season. Yes, he was inefficient. He's also taking more outside shots than he should have been.
He was a
notice he
rookie.
goes, you notice he goes inside this season, and his efficiency really jumped. Where it's like, oh my goodness, a center who dominates down low, stops taking 4 threes a game, and goes down in the paint and really focuses on those shots instead. All of a sudden, is a 50% shooter from the field. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that is possible? Oh my goodness, we solved basketball, ladies and gentlemen. We solved basketball. Basketball is
His
safe.
pre-All-Star numbers were very good.
But it's like just looking at where they like rank the Eastern Conference rosters. They have Bucks 15, Nets 14.
What? Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was still top 30. I thought Bucks.
No,
and Nets
no,
were
no,
15
no.
and
Like
14.
by Eastern Conference,
Okay,
like
my
ranking
bad,
the
I'm
starting
sorry.
lineups. Bucks
Wait,
15,
who's
Nets
ranking this
14.
one now?
Like going like how they would have the starting 5s like ranked in the Eastern
Oh.
Conference.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, Bucks 15, Nets 14, Bulls 13, Hornets 12. Then they have the Wizards, which would be 11th, missing the
11th.
play-in.
That's dark.
Yeah, no, I'm saying a lot of people got the Wizards missing the play in general. Like in a bunch of rankings. That's what I put a piece out yesterday about that. I mean,
It's
which
so
I
weird.
think is kind of unbelievable, considering the amount of talent they have. But I just think a lot of people again don't know the amount of talent is on the team, even with Trae Young and AD.
They don't get it.
And
They don't get
this,
it.
I think it's going to be a high variance kind of team. The fact that you're pinning your hopes on AD, who hasn't been super durable, and Trae Young, who you don't really know 100% can fit on this sort of thing. They're an easy team to sort of pick on and say, if anyone has to miss it, it'll probably be them because they're unproven. They haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
It's so weird. But you mentioned that where it's like a lot of people have the Wizards missing the play-in in general as well. Michael Pena over at the Ringer did his top 15 rankings for the Eastern Conference. All right, he had the Wizards 13th in the East.
13th.
He had the Nets above them at 12. And his whole
my
list,
gosh.
by the way, is like it's not great. And I have made it publicly known that if the Nets have a better season than the Wizards this coming season, I'll eat ox tongue live on the pod. I will
Sure.
there is no way everything would have to go wrong with the Wizards seasons. They would have to trade AJ DeBonsa Anthony Davis would have to have a season-ending injury. Trae Young would say, F it, I'm playing my own style of ball here. Alex Sarr would have to go back to his rookie season. Bub Carrington would have to get 32 minutes a game. Like all that stuff would have to happen for the Wizards to have a worse season than the Brooklyn Nets, who have two ball-dominant players in Michael Porter Jr., who never passes the ball, and Julius Randle, who is a horrible ball handler but still tries to attack the rim like he owns it. And then you're also not developing Mikal Brown, who you just got, Danny Wolf, like all these other guys, Yegor. Like it's horrible over there. How do you have them at 12 above the Wizards at 13? But his whole list is ridiculous. Miami at 11, Charlotte at 10, which Charlotte, it's hard to justify after the moves they made this offseason that they're still a play-in team. And then all of a sudden, Indiana 9, who's adding Tyrese Halliburton to the mix along with Zubac, where it's like, I don't see that at all how they're a play-in team. But you have the Boston Celtics at 2. You have the 76ers at 7th, a play-in team?
Wait a minute. Was this after they got Braun? He's got them at 7?
This was after they got Braun. This was on August 7th that he made this list. August 7th he made this list. And he has the Sixers 7. He has the Hawks as a better team.
That I don't buy. I get the nebulous idea that the Sixers won't be like breaking 55 wins or something just because, you're not going to ride LeBron and Embiid for a million games, but you're just going to have Maxey and Jaylen Brown the whole time. Those are two pretty durable guys.
That's the thing. They got Jaylen
You saw Brown
for Paul George.
Yeah.
It is a great roster where it's like, you're looking at it right now. The top 2 teams in the East are the Sixers and Knicks. Those are the top 2 teams in the East. Having the Sixers in the play-in is blasphemous, let alone, nothing higher than 5 is insane to do.
Were there any explanations for this ranking, or was it just here's 15 names?
He did it on a podcast. I haven't listened, but even just looking at the list, no reasoning explains why you should have the Brooklyn Nets better than the Washington Wizards. All right. I don't even have them better than the Chicago Bulls. The
Bulls might be interesting. I get it.
And then you have...
I'm more excited about their team than the Nets.
Yeah. And then you have Detroit at 3rd in the East, which, I get they finished as the 1st seed this last season. I get it. What do they do this offseason to really maintain that they're going to win 60 games and be a dominant team in the East?
I think they'll be able to shoot now. I think we talked about that on another podcast. I think they actually did good on getting some shooters, but it's still a lot of Cade.
They got one. They got one shooter.
They got a few.
They got Isaiah Joe.
Isaiah Joe and who?
John Collins can shoot for a big guy.
For a big guy.
Is he a shooter?
Is he a shooter, Henry?
He's a guy who will shoot threes in that team.
Okay, I think shooter
Let's
means
clarify that.
I don't mean they got JJ Redick. I'm not talking about shooting specialists. I'm talking about guys who can now shoot on their team.
But
but is John Collins spacing the floor?
Yes. John Collins was pretty good in LA last year.
Let's put it this way. Is John Collins and Isaiah Joe enough to make sure that they still finish with 55 plus wins and get the 3rd seed?
55 would be a lot. It's going to be a lot of Cade.
Because that means that they would have to finish above a few of these teams in this list of the Sixers, the Pacers, the Raptors, the Cavs, maybe even the Celtics or Knicks.
I think the Celtics are going to finish higher. Or the Celtics, he has them at 50-something wins?
He has them at 2nd. Yeah, that would be in the 50 win.
Yeah, that makes... they'll still probably crank out a million wins in the regular season, but I don't know. I think if the Pistons can recreate that, it's just going to be. Cade's just going to be slaving away every night, what we saw in the regular season, that one Wizards game they played, the Pistons Wizards game where he had 55 or something. There's going to be a few games like that.
My issue with it is yes, while the Pistons did add a shooter in Isaiah Joe and a versatile player in John Collins, I'm not going to say he's a shooter.
Wow, I'll take what I can get.
He'll shoot the ball. He'll shoot the ball. But that's not what he's known to be or do.
I'm just not scared of John Collins 3, man. I know he can hit.
I don't think anyone is.
Doesn't scare me as an opponent. It's not.
I'll put a hand up, but I'm not tracking you.
Right.
And so,
he had a good season last year.
Yeah, he had a good season, and he was someone I wanted the Wizards to try to sign this offseason as well. I won't lie about that. I thought he would have been a nice fit, but not as a shooter.
He's not. Again, he's not Kyle Korver, but he's a guy who can space the floor.
It's just
he can improve floor spacing. But
Yes.
he's not someone who, yeah, because the Pistons didn't have any last season. So it's like
That's my point. But the question was how they
Sure.
get better. There's your answer. It's not that he's gonna give them 10 wins, but it's a
Okay,
team that
you
got
want
better.
to hear how the Sixers got better? They got LeBron and Jaylen Brown for pennies.
Listen, I am not backing up that 7 ranking.
For pennies. All right. Cleveland, they're pretty much the same team. All right.
I was about to say
go
careful
ahead.
on Cleveland. I don't want to
Yeah.
get too excited about them.
Yeah. Boston, well, yes, they traded Jaylen Brown. Okay, well, yes, they did that. They also brought in Mitchell Robinson. Okay, which is a great pickup, I think, for the Celtics alone, right there. All right. New York, while they did lose Mitchell Robinson, they brought in Andre Drummond, if I'm not mistaken. All right. They still have Jose Alvarado, which Andre Drummond is going to be a good fit in New York. He is. It's still the same starting 5. It's the champions. Okay. Atlanta, they brought back CJ McCollum. They added Kingston Flemings as a rookie to this team. They got better as well. Indiana's getting Tyrese Halliburton back. They're also going to have Zubac. Orlando kind of stayed the same. They lost Mo Wagner, which will hurt them a little bit with their backup center depth, but still, they're going to be able to manage. They're still going to be good.
And they got Vucevic back.
And Miami got Giannis, and he doesn't even have them as a playing team.
I mean, I can see the world in which Miami just completely falls off a cliff. I mean, their bench is sort of nasty.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a backcourt. So
You also got Giannis.
They also can't shoot, and Giannis sort of needs shooters.
yeah, I mean, I think they'll make the play-in though.
I do too.
But
Just by nature of having a healthy Giannis.
It's just a lot of these reasonings that I'm like, not even reasonings, but like looking at these rankings where it's like the Wizards had 17 wins last season. All right. Milwaukee and Chicago are going to be in that 20-win range. Okay. If they're finishing 13th, that means they're only getting like 25 wins this next season. You're telling me adding Trae Young, AJ DeBonsa, and Anthony Davis to this team, and we didn't even mention, DeAndre Ayton as the backup center, which is a good backup center to have. Okay. Along with young development, only gets you an extra 8 wins. That's what you're telling me? That's what you're telling me? That only gets you an extra 8 wins?
That has to be the case. The East is just a bloodbath.
Well, he did say the East.
It's hard to get better.
He did say the East is hell, but once again, that is no reason to have the Brooklyn Nets, who did practically nothing to help out with their young development, at 12th.
Someone's got to win games.
Yeah. Which I would rather have, Trae Young, Anthony Davis all day over Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle.
I think I'm most intrigued by the Hawks ranking because they represent everything the Wizards aren't. They don't have the same high-end question marks. It's not a matter of, are the All-Stars going to fit in or how's AJ going to do, the first overall pick. But the Hawks, we know exactly what they are. They have this exact archetype that they're like surrounding their star guys with, and they got more of them over the offseason. You got Dort, you got Kingston Flemings, these guys who can just be hounds on defense and give no opposing guards any rest. And we just saw it work. They got to the playoffs. They got a few games off the Knicks. And the Wizards you have nothing to work with. It's all theoretical. And that's what I think people still think of the Wizards as this hypothetically good team instead of, when we're doing a starting five exercise, Hawks, you should be looking at what they could be together instead of what they've proven.
Yeah, the Hawks added Aaron Wiggins. They added Lou Dort, Kingston Flemings. Like, they added good players. They did. It is a very good team in Atlanta, which I think they can shock a lot of people. And instead of be 6, where they finished last season as well, they got, substantially better. They could potentially finish 5 or 4. They could finish that high. They have that kind of potential. I want to apologize to everyone right now if you hear the lawnmower and weed eaters going on in the background, because for some reason they love to mow my lawn at 9 in the morning. But it's just a lot of these reasonings that I keep on saying reasonings. We don't know the full reasonings because I haven't listened to the hour and a half long podcast episode over there. But just looking at it, like I said, Indiana at 9, like I get you. I understand you can say, oh, we haven't seen Tyrese Halliburton and Vaka Zubac, play together. Tyrese Halliburton led this team to the finals in 2025. You think they're just going to be in the play-in? You're like,
I mean, it's possible, but I wouldn't like bank on that.
It's possible if like the case is like they're easing Halliburton in and not putting too much on his plate because everything does run around him when he's there.
Even then, I think
like
this is a better team than they had in 2025. Even then, I think this is a better squad than they had in 2025.
Yeah,
like it's just a lot of this. I get the East is tough. I get it. It's just how a lot of these team rankings don't make sense. I don't understand how you can say the Philadelphia 76ers are a play-in team.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, of course they're going to do some load management with Braun and Embiid, but still, I mean,
But Maxey and
especially
Jaylen Brown
Brown
don't
and
really miss
VJ.
games.
They don't really
But
miss games. They're elite. Like, you also have VJ Edgecombe, who's still going to
right,
be awesome for you. Like, the starting five is arguably the best starting five in the NBA. That alone is not going to have you in the play-in. That's going to have you in a guaranteed playoff spot. That alone. This is what annoys me with these lists, where it's like, it's clear, like, I want to be a contrarian. That's what it is. I want to be a contrarian. I want to be different. Let me get my clicks real quick. An insane ratio on him, by the way. 100 likes on his post, 250 comments, along with 200 quote tweets
wow.
and 600K views. Like, he just got flamed.
That's how you know he did a good job. 100 likes.
That's how you know you got to do
600K
good
views.
job. Good rage bait. Good rage bait, Michael.
I mean,
Good
it
rage
created
bait.
this podcast.
What?
Yeah, man. You know, you got to
Yeah.
create that interest in what you're doing and being, you know, getting someone where you're outside of the normal, you know, theories, you know, create that unique take, I would say, that gets the people going. It's provocative, right? So did his job.
No one knows what that word means, though. But that's all I want to say on Michael. And then there's one more. A guy named AM Hoops made a video about the Washington Wizards and how Anthony Davis is in a weird situation because of him not getting his contract extension. Okay. And his video, I know you guys haven't watched it. We talked about it before the pod. I watched the full thing. And he said Wizards fans are delusional for thinking this is a play-in team and that this team is going to make the playoffs.
Delusional.
He said
Delusional
Wizards
is
fans are
crazy.
delusional. All right. And there have been some fans out there that have made some crazy comments. I saw one person say, I can't wait to watch us beat the Sixers in 5 games in the playoffs, which, like, that is crazy. But if you look at 95% of the fan base, what they have said, their hope is, let's be in the play-in. That is the hope. We have said it multiple times where it's like, the hope, be in the play-in. That is a good season. Be in the play-in, double your win total. That is a good season right there. Boom. You did what you needed to do. You got better. And he was saying that they're delusional for even thinking that they can make the play-in, that this is still one of the bottom teams in the league, where it's like, that makes no sense. And he also said, part of it is the GM has come out, Will Dawkins has come out and said, this is going to be another rebuilding season. You guys have been at the press conferences. When has Will Dawkins ever said that they're going to lose again next season?
That is
He
not
said that the train hasn't left the station or whatever, right?
He
So-
They
said-
said that, I believe, in February.
Yeah, he said it is starting to leave the station and that they are the evaluation stage for contract extensions.
Here's what he said. The deconstructive phase is over. That's what he
Right.
said heading into the draft. That the teardown is over.
Right. They have the guys they want. Now they just got to develop and pick the ones they want out of those.
Yeah, see, because some people know, they're smart enough to know that they're not going to go balls to the wall, just doing completely reckless moves in the chase for 45 wins or something. But again, they're not punting anymore. Some of the lineups that people saw out there just aren't going to exist.
Right.
It's just insane that he said publicly, like, yeah, the Wizards are going to try and lose next season. The general manager has said that. He's never said that. I think everyone
He
can
said that like a year ago, but
Yeah.
not for the season.
I think everyone can agree that the Wizards this coming season are trying to be a competitive basketball team and win quite a few games because they have the roster they want now. All the pieces.
Yeah, you already
are there
paid
for
Trae
them.
Young. Like 80's got an extension. There's no reason to still do that with these guys on the
No,
book.
and this is what gets me. I delve further into the video. I watch it some more. All right. I finished it, and he said that the Wizards' plan is to keep rebuilding until Young's money is off the books. Do you know when Young is
Oh, wow.
in his final year of his contract?
2030, right?
2030. So they're going to rebuild for another 4
That's
years?
This is like the most dangerous time to try to rebuild, or the next 3 years when
Right.
when there's going to be the
Yeah, you
relegation
can't
stage.
even tank for the lottery anymore. So what do you?
Yeah.
No,
what
you
does it
can't
even
take. So what's the
mean?
point of losing games? And he also, in his video, he included a clip from good friend of the pod, AB over at Locked On Wizards, along with DJ over at Chocolate City Hoops, where like they were talking about what's the plan for the Wizards this season. And he was like, the plan is to be in the playoffs and hopefully get past the first round. He said that's a delusional thought. That is not a delusional thought. That is a clear-headed thought for a team finally out of the playoffs or out of the rebuilding phase, deconstructing it all, where it's like, yeah, hey, let's try to get in the playoffs and see if we can make it past the first round.
So there was a video of AB and it just said like black and white, delusional. Like it was like
No, it doesn't say that. Like he's calling him delusional for having these thoughts of make the playoffs and try to get past the first round. That's not delusional thinking for a
yeah, it's
team first
optimistic.
year out of a
Optimistic
rebuild.
doesn't mean delusional.
Like delusional is saying, yeah, this is an Eastern Conference Finals team. That is delusional. It is hard to go from the worst team in the NBA to instantly being a top 4 team. It's not hard from being one of the worst teams in the league after getting the first overall pick and having a great roster construction with a few other guys, adding Anthony Davis and Trae Young to the squad, going from worst team to being in the playoffs or at least a play-in. That is not delusional.
My thing is, look at Charlotte last year. The Wizards are so clearly similar in that situation where I don't know if they're gonna win, as much as Charlotte did last season, because I think they had 44 wins.
Yeah,
But
Charlotte had a crazy
it,
season.
but it's clearly that they're gonna have a jump as long as they're healthy, right? And that they are legitimately a playing team just based on the talent. I know that people don't know all the young guys, and AD and Trey are a little bit theoretical, like Henry was saying. But you got to give them some credit for assembling a good amount of talent. Just do some research, right? Where it's like,
And this is my
okay,
thought. This is my whole
yeah,
thought on it. If you have not been keeping up with the Wizards for the past 3 years and all of a sudden you want to form an opinion, respectfully, don't say
right.
something. Say, I don't know enough about this team. I'd rather you say that instead of make some bogus claim that fans are delusional and that this is still a rebuilding team that they're going to intentionally lose. Just
Right.
say, I haven't been keeping up with this team enough. I need to do more research before making these kinds of comments.
And
Right, but that's not exciting content to be all measured and rational.
and
People
honest.
just gotta, yeah, it's too honest. They gotta throw their stuff out and just get clicks, and whoever says the wildest stuff, gets clicks or whatever. So
Above all,
It's
it's important that we hammer home, even though they won't be throwing away games or putting out some of the strange third string dominant lineups we saw last year. The young guys are still the focal point of the team. Trae Young might have gotten paid. The AD rumors are still going to be out there for the next couple months. But beyond AJ DeBonce, it's going to be, Sar, Keyshawn, Riley, Trey Johnson, all the other young guys that I think get ignored when people are talking about if you're doing a rebuild, then you're sort of ignoring all the guys who
like we
came
talked
before
about
AJ.
with Bleacher
Those guys are all
Reports,
still at the middle of the team.
like the Bleacher Report thing where it's like, yeah, Bob Carrington's going to be starting for that, fighting for that starting 2 role. And they completely omitted Bilal Coulibaly and Justin Champagnie.
Yeah,
Where
it's
it's like,
like they're still developing their young guys, but that does not mean that they are developing them at the expense of winning games.
yeah, it's just, like I said, it is a sign that they haven't actually been following along and keeping up with what the Wizards have been doing the past 3 years. A lot of them have these kinds of false, pretenses on some of these players where it's like a lot of people still think Alex Sarr is a player from his rookie season. When if you watched him last season, he was a borderline all-star. Like you have that kind of player at your center now, not the rookie who shot what 39% from the field.
right,
Starting
Yeah.
five, who was second in the league in blocks per game and leading the league in total blocks for a time before his injury, who was one of the best defensive centers in the league.
Yeah, and his
A lot
true
of people,
shooting was like
yeah, a lot of
very
people forget that.
average.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that. All right, Keyshawn George, one of the best role players in the NBA, who, if he could be a second option on his own team, he could probably make 2 or 3 All-Star appearances in his career. But he's
He's more
playing
than
for
a
the
role player.
Wizards. Yeah, he's more than a role player. But on the Wizards, he's seen as a role player because he's not your focal point like he could be on another team, a very Jalen Williams-esque player. Like having that as your fourth, fifth best player in your starting 5 is great to have. Trae Young, who, when he's on point and has a team actually built for him to succeed, is an all-star and all NBA level player. Anthony Davis, when he is healthy, is a top 25 player in the NBA. But a lot of people, it's it's unknowns. We've never seen them play together. Okay, cool. But you still have, like the Sixers. They added LeBron and Jaylen Brown. They haven't played together, but a lot of them have them as top tier team. I do. So you can't use that same reasoning for why the Wizards are going to be bad.
yeah. And I think, like, let's face it, they get, because they've been bad in recent years. It's just that they're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. I do think history plays more into these rankings than a lot of people that make the rankings want to admit. Obviously, like, yeah, they try to make it look like, yeah, it's all updated, but your brain kind of naturally has a bias. Like, that's why we're saying it was surprising they put the Lakers 16th, because that's lower than you think. Because usually the Lakers are, they're propped up more. They have a lot more hype, right? But
Yeah.
usually teams like the Lakers, they get propped up more. Whereas a team like the Wizards, they got to really get it out the mud. Like no one's gonna just hand them that attention that a team like the Lakers will get. You know,
You
so
got that
Yeah.
name, you got that jersey, you're gonna get dinged.
right.
It's just like I said, it's just a lot of the reasoning. It made no sense for some of these people, and then also just kind of shows you, like I said, with that one YouTube video where it's like it's clear you have not been watching the team if this is a thought you came away where it is going to be what you think is entering the fourth year of a rebuild. If you're entering the fourth year of a rebuild, something went horribly wrong in years 2 and 3. But you can't say this is the fourth year of a rebuild when you added Trae Young, Anthony Davis, and the first overall pick.
Yeah, man. It's like I just really want people to like at least do deep research on their own. And a lot of people do. I'm not like we can't
A
say
lot of
this
people
is
do.
everybody.
A lot of people
Right.
do. This is not for everyone. It's just the ones that end up blowing up are the ones that don't do the research and haven't been
Right.
paying attention to the Washington Wizards.
That's what sucks
That's
about
what it
it.
is.
Right.
That's what we're here for.
That's so
Right.
what we're trying to do. It's just the ones that do their due diligence. Like I know Windhorse has talked about the Wizards in a very good positive light before. He
Right.
actually does his research. All right. Tim McMahon the other day, he didn't. All right. But I do think he does his research as well. I will say that he was able to form more coherent thoughts about it and was like, yeah, it's just there's so much unknown. I don't believe in Trae Young because of his defense, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that makes sense. And he was like, you're relying on AJ DeBonta to be, one of your top guys in his rookie season. It's like, I get those. Those are good reasons. Don't be like Bleacher Report saying, yeah, Bub Carrion is going to be starting for, fighting for the starting 2 role.
Right.
Where it's like,
Exactly. Give me
that just
valid
shows you haven't
reasons.
been paying attention.
Right. Give me valid reasons. Yeah.
So,
So with all that in mind, like yes, they do have issues. So like, there's a lot of unknowns and all that. What do you guys think? I know we've talked about it before, but if you had to pick what seed there are in the East as of today, what's your pick?
I did this on my TikTok the other day. I'll pull up where
You stall,
where I
I'll
had
I'll
them.
talk. This is funny because we were dogging on them being 11th, but I'm not that. I'm still higher than them, but not like mediocrely so. I would say like
Yeah.
8 or 9, probably. Just because
I
things look-
agree. And yeah, that's the thing is we're not that much higher on them than some of these rankings, but it's just that it's that we have them in the play-in
Top 20.
tournament, whereas
Yeah,
these guys have them outside of it, and that's a huge difference, right? If you get in the play-in, you can make the
that
playoffs.
is a huge difference
And-
because the play-in
Right.
last year, you needed 43 wins to be the 10th seed.
That's the thing, guys, is when we're going from 11 to 8, that's a huge chasm they're crossing. As when that's like the bad teams are all sort of clustered in that bottom 5, but like you have to really mean business if you're in the top 10.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. I understand that they don't have the track record and there's a lot of unknowns, but if you're looking at the talent, I think they should be in the play-in group. You know what I mean? Even if they're 10th, I could live with that.
Mhm.
Having
Yeah,
them
like-
below 10th, I just think you're really underselling.
Yeah, I have the Wizards at 9, and
Yeah.
and this is also partially because I think the East is just a gauntlet this year as well.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like where it's like I have the Cavs at 7. That doesn't mean I think the Cavs are a bad team and they really regressed. I just think 48 wins isn't getting you a guaranteed 4 seed anymore in the East.
No. And you also have to allot for, there's a world where the Wizard season goes great, but there's a lot that has to go well for that to happen. So we're all sort of accounting for the bumps and bruises you're going to take along the way of
And like we said, we're not
competitive basketball
vying
every night.
We're not vying for them to be like the 6th or 5th seed. To do that, Anthony Davis has to play like 70 games and be an MVP candidate. All right. And
You're basically saying they're going to have a winning record, but
Yeah.
maybe not by much.
winning record, maybe not by much. Maybe they're 2 or 3 games below 500, but having him at like 13, for example, all right, that is in
Right,
that
that's bad.
20 to 25 win range, which is just if you only increase your win total by 3 to 8 wins after the offseason the Wizards have, you need to do some internal deep thinking and figure out why did this just happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's like, okay, like you guys were saying, we're not saying that they should be top 5, but at the end of the day, it's like, how realistically how can you explain it other than like, I don't know, I don't like the unknowns that I'm gonna have them 12th. Is that enough to put them like in the bottom 3 or 4 of the conference? Just because I'm
No,
not
it's
sure how it works.
Like, it
Right.
isn't enough to have them below teams like the Nets, for example, where it's like the unknown, where it's
Right.
like the Nets, where it's like sure they might not have unknowns, where it's
The
like yeah
team
they added
objectively has more talent than the Nets. So how do you?
yes objectively from top to bottom.
Right.
It's the fact that the Wizards' 12th man is Chris Middleton, who is a key rotation player for a lot of playoff teams.
Good 12th man. I
Like
think these negative assumptions, if we can end on a positive note, are that I think soon there's gonna be people seeing this and picking the Wizards as like their big sleeper to maybe be a top 6 team. So I think the seesaw is gonna bounce back forth. We have 2 more months of offseason. There's gonna be people picking hot takes. So I would assume there's still a lot more opinions to be had and shared, and maybe some of them will swing our
yeah,
way.
yeah, and like there are some people out there that do great stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and give my guy. I know I'm gonna butcher his last name, Finn. I'm just gonna say cool because he's a cool guy. All right, I'm
Yeah,
sure you guys have seen him around. He just did his top 100 players list. He had Keyshawn at 98, and I know a lot of people don't even have Keyshawn George as a top 100 player. Like he does
good
his
stuff.
research. He follows along with all of the teams in the NBA to make sure like he is caught up and knows what he's talking about because he likes to do a bunch of trade and offseason talk. And it's like he knows what he's talking about. It's like it's all of the underground guys where it's like you look at it and it's like talking about the Wizards where it's like, yeah, like that makes sense. He had Alex Sarr, 81. That is I think 17 spots higher than what the Ringer had him at last season going into the year. Where it's like, yeah, I can see him at 81 in that range. Like he's right next to Donovan Clingan, and you could argue that they are very similar in talent right now. Where it's like a lot of it just it makes sense. It makes sense. He actually does his research, unlike a lot of the big name network guys, unfortunately, because they focus on
Right.
5 teams because they dominate the scene.
Yeah, and the
I think
Cowboys.
I think something else about it is that even if the Wizards don't have everything go their way, they could still be 10th. You know,
Yes.
they have enough
Yeah.
talent.
Even if everything doesn't go their way, they can still be 10th in the Eastern Conference, which is play in, and play in the East gets you in that 40 win range.
Right.
That's what it gets you. And so that's what we're arguing where it's like you can't really justify them being there but then having teams like the Nets above them or regarding starting 5, the Warriors and Pelicans, for example, the Jazz being
Right.
7 spots ahead, where in the West they would have had them I think as like the 7th or 6th best team in the West.
For Utah,
Like
wow.
yeah, where it's like it's stuff like that looking at it, it's like, ooh, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's a podcast, baby. That's a podcast. We're back. But anything you guys got before we sign this off here?
A part of me wants to watch that video that you're talking about, the YouTube one.
I sent it in our group chat.
Yeah, you did. I forgot to watch it. And I keep imagining like them showing AB like talking about the Wizards could be good, and then it just turns black and white and it goes like idiot, and there's like a title card like a Smash Bros. Brawl
Mhm.
unskippable cutscene.
Oh,
Diluted.
but it was just like his reasoning was just horrible. It was just not good reasoning. It was not good reasoning whatsoever. But
Yeah,
that's all we got.
I think it's just like I think the biggest thing to take away is like just fans keep in mind, not don't believe everything. Just do your research and then see kind of which content creators and pundits are like kind of aligning with the research you're doing. Like just
That are
just to see
actually
like
digging deep into the team.
right, like
Not
when
the
you really
guys that are
look
saying
into
Bub
it,
Carrington's going to be fighting for that starting role.
right. Don't just look at their generic stats from the past couple of years. That's not enough. That's some of it, but like really look at what moves the team made, like what does the depth chart might look like, right? What
Yep.
skills do the players have outside of their stats, right? There's just so much more to it than just okay, well this guy's played a lot of minutes, so he could start, and it's
Yep.
like no. So
Sorry. I think the weed eater right next to my window is a sign that we got to sign this off.
Buzzer beater.
Buzzer beater. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening as always. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.